most cutting-edge thing about Hannes Sjöblad isn't the phone in his hand, it's the microchip actually in his hand. The tiny implant is the latest advance in a biohacking technology that is steadily becoming a part of normal life in Sweden.
We have created a new implant, which is not a chip, it's a full device where you can add different lights, different vibration, different functions. Sweden is a very tech-literate society. And I think this is the main explanation, really, why a lot of Swedes are adopting chip implants.
Swedes haven't been shy about upgrading themselves with the new version. Thousands already have microchip implants that they use in their daily lives, waving their hand to gain entrance to the gym, confirm their ID or make payments. A short moment of pain not putting them off becoming part Swede, part machine. This event is an implant party, simply where ordinary people can show up and get a microchip embedded under their skin. The biohacking movement in Sweden is hosting them all over Europe, but it's at home where they get the most willing recipients.
I think it's really cool. You don't have to carry any keys or anything. It's just your body. In maybe 10 years, everything will be in your hand.
In Sweden, more than anywhere else, the future is already here. The national train company SJ has around 2,600 people signed up to use microchips instead of train tickets. And no need to mind the generation gap. 18-year-old Felicia and father Magnus still bear the scars of their new implants. Student Hannah Herving is also freshly chipped and now just needs to program it to open doors. Although importantly for a future career, it does already connect to her LinkedIn.
Some people say I'm mad that I don't know if it's safe and all that, but people have been putting these chips into animals for 20 years, so I'm not worried about that.
The long-term goal is for the new chips to help provide medical care in remote communities. They're already getting under the skin of the Swedes and may soon become just another normal part of modern life and of the human body. Paul Rees.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, which is to say in the Paleo-Hebrew, Yahweh, the name of the Heavenly Father. He is Bahashem. In the name, Yahweh Shai, He is our salvation, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, a so-called black man. Sweden and its relation to the mark. Sweden, the country Sweden, and its relation in regards to the mark. Okay, in this article, headlines reads, thousands of Swedes are inserting, tags under their skin. Thousands of Swedes are inserting tags under their skin. Now you may ask, why did I say Sweden and its relation, to the mark? Well, I don't know if any of you knew beforehand, but there's such a incident that's referred to as Stockholm syndrome, where after a period of time, the hostages start to relate with the captors, those who took them hostage. And they're basing this information or stat from an incident that occurred in Stockholm syndrome back in 1973, where a few bank robbers held up a heist and, held the people there hostage. And after a period of time, those people that were held hostage started to relate with those who held them hostage. And thus for there being the word or the phrase Stockholm syndrome was born. And one of the stages of Stockholm syndrome is when the captive or the captor start to, relate with the person that captured him. And that place was taken, like I said, in Stockholm, Sweden. And you can chalk it up as a coincidence, but this country, Sweden, is where most of the people that's being tagged is at right now. So I'm going to say it's by no sheer coincidence that the elite of this society, Esau Edom, the so-called white man, is putting it, putting it right there in front of your face. That they coming with the mark, but it's just one thing. It hasn't been made mandatory yet. And we're going to go into that word in the prophecy in Revelation 13, and we're going to see it firsthand. So the article reads, thousands of Swedes are inserting microchips under their skin. And it says, paragraph 1, technology continues to get closer and closer to our bodies. From the phones in our pockets to the smartwatches on our wrists, now for some people it's getting under the skin. In Sweden, a country rich with technological advancements, thousands have had tags inserted into their hands. The tags are designed to speed up users' daily routines and make their lives more convenient. And this is how they're going to, push it to the mass, once they do make it mandated or make it mandatory. And like I said, we're going to go into that word in the Greek and see what it is, because people are saying, isn't the mark already out? And it is, but it hasn't been made mandatory pursuant to Revelations the 13th chapter. And we're going to go into that word and see. So it says, in Sweden, a country rich with technological advancement, thousands have had tags inserted into their hands. The tags are designed to speed up users' daily routines and make their lives more convenient. Accessing their homes, office, and gyms is as easy as swiping their hands against digital readers. They also can be used to store emergency contact details, social media profiles, or e-tickets or events in rail journeys within Sweden. And this is going to be part of that first stage of the Stockholm Syndrome, where those who are taken hostage start to, relate with the ones that took them hostages. So once they mandate this thing, the people going to be like, oh, it ain't that bad after all. It's just part of life. We got to use, these things anyways. We might as well, have them more productive. So the people going to start to associate and relate to their, captors, those who took them hostage, like the Stockholm Syndrome. That's one of the stages of the Stockholm Syndrome. See, this is the elite putting their plan into place, because it's by no sheer coincidence that they putting it right there in front of your face, as in the country with the most people being tagged is in Sweden. And when you find out what part of Sweden, then you're going to see just how bold and flamboyant they are about putting it in front of your face. So they letting you know, and they've been letting you know that they coming with it. They just haven't made it what? Mandatory. And like I said, we're going to go into that word in the Greek in Revelation 13 and break that down. So it says they also can be used to store emergency contact details, social media profiles, or e-tickets for events and rail journeys within Sweden. Proponents of the tiny tags say they're safe and largely protected from hacking, but one scientist is raising privacy concerns around the kind of personal health data that might be stored on the devices. And people are going to get over that once they see, what this tag can, do. They're going to be like, it's worth the trade-off. We can have a sense of security, and all we have to do is relate to our captors, and take what they giving us, because what they giving us is for our benefit. People going to rationalize going against their own better judgment to take this mark, because they know when they had the chance to seek Yahweh, they didn't. So this is this is they in their mind, this is their next best thing, to receive this and to lean on this man. And it tells us that in Isaiah the 31st chapter, woe to them that go down to Egypt. So they're gonna go down to Egypt because they're gonna relate to their captors, because they're gonna be exhibiting one of the stages of the Stockholm syndrome. And like I said, for those of you who don't know, Stockholm syndrome was, Stockholm syndrome was phrased, or it came to about from an incident that took occur in 1973 in Stockholm, Sweden, where a group of people was taken hostage in a heist with bank robbers, and they started to relate, and to associate with the bank robbers over a period of time. So Esau Edom knows, and he's been working on this, that, once he make it mandatory, that people are going to eventually come and get what he has to offer, because they're going to start to exhibit that Stockholm syndrome where they start to relate with their captors. So it says, proponents of the tiny tags say they're safe and largely protected from hacking. See, these are going to be some of the components that he sells you on, and it's going to get to you, and you're going to start to relate with him and start to exhibit those stages of Stockholm syndrome. So it says, proponents of the tiny tags say they're safe and largely protected from hacking, but one scientist is raising privacy concern around the kind of personal health data that might be stored on the devices. Around the size of a grain of rice, the tags typically are inserted into the skin just above each user's thumb. That's pursuant to Revelation 13 to 16 down to the 18th. He causes all to receive it in their right hand or in their forehead. So it says around the size of a grain of rice, the chips typically are inserted into the skin just above each user's thumb. Using a, needle, prick, we went into that word in the 18th verse of Revelation 13. Stigma, that was the root word of Chi stigma. The number of a man, 600, 6. When you go into that root word, is stigma, which is prick. This is what he's going to use, that needle, that syringe, similar to that used for giving, the V word. So you can see the correlations, the relations between, what's going on in Sweden and the mark, because that's the way the elite speaks. They speak with their fingers, their hands, they wink. We're going to get that. So it says the procedure cost about $180. So many Swedes are lining up to get the tag that the country main tagging company says it can keep up with the number of requests. Now let me cut the do not disturb on, because I know someone's going to try to interrupt this. All right, so it says, so many Swedes are lining up to get the tags that the country main tagging company says it can keep up with the number of requests. And this number is 4,000, but it's way more now. So it says more than 4,000 Swedes have adopted the technology, with one company, Biohacks International, dominating the market. And you can bet, your last dollar that the elite is getting all this information taken in by this company. Dominating the market, the tagging firm was started 5 years ago by Joanne Osterhund, a former professional body piercer. So let's get down to it. The paragraph that speaks volume. Okay, let's start it from this quote right here. It says, Swedes are very pragmatic, and the tag is useful. And since a lot of people know each other in the tech community is very tight, the trend has been spreading and people have seen benefits, Frisk says. When Frisk moved into a shared house earlier this year, he organized a tagging party for his new housemates. And you see that's like a trend that they have these tag parties. You seen the tag party that I played in the video when I, first started this lesson. So it says when Frisk moved into a shared house early this year, he organized a tagging party for his new housemates. Now they can access the 16th century building they share in Stockholm's Old Town by taping their hands on a digital reader by the door. Is that where I wanted to go at with it? Yeah, this is a pretty lengthy article, but it was something I was looking for in particular. Where is that part of the article that I seen when I was reading this that says that, Stockholm, Sweden is the largest, basically their version of Silicon Valley. But you get the gist of it. This place is being used, to relay a message amongst the elite that they getting ready to come with it, man. That, these people are going, revert to this Stockholm syndrome. They're going to show symptoms of the stages of Stockholm syndrome. Uh, Primarily the one where you relate to your captor, the one that is capturing you. And Esau Edom, so-called white man, is going to use this snare to capture a lot of people. Man, they're going to relate to him, and they're going to exhibit that Stockholm syndrome. So let's see if I can find it. If not, we're gonna just have to move on. Yeah, don't look like I can locate it, or I'm pretty sure this is the same article I read when I saw it, but I can't seem to locate it in this article. So I guess we're gonna go ahead and take it to the scriptures and get it from there. Maybe this is it. It says many early adopters come from Stockholm's thriving startup scene. Eric Fisk, a 30-year-old web developer, yeah, this could be it. That's what we was talking about. The designer says he was really curious about the technology as soon as he heard about it and decided to get his own tag in 2014. So you see the Stockholm, the city in Sweden is a place where it's known to be tech savvy, just like here in California and Silicon Valley. That's where a lot of startup technical companies are, like Google, Facebook. A lot of those places out there in Silicon Valley, man. So you see how the elite is showing you, speaking, if you can pick up on it, amongst themselves, man. Because they going to come with it, and we going to get it in Revelation 13. So without any, further delay, let's go ahead and go there and get it. All right, this is back in Revelations, the 13th chapter, and let's pick up at, the verse 16, and it reads, "And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads." So when we go to this word causes, it's the word
Strong's G 4160, poieo. Poieo.
poeo. And let's look at one of the usages on the outline of biblical usage. To make, with the names of things made, to produce, construct, form, fashion, etc. Let's go to the word where it says, let's go to the definition where it uses the one where he's going to mandate it. And here it is. It's letter I, to make one do something. So he's going to make one do something by mandating it that everybody has to have it in order to participate on his grid, the beast system. So when he causes all, he's going to make it mandate, as opposed to right now, there's no causes, there's no mandate. He's just letting the people test it out and try it out. And most of the people that's testing it and trying it out is in Sweden. And like I said, it's by no sheer luck that they're testing it out in the place where the phrase Stockholm Syndrome was born. And we may go into that and read the story on that a little bit and, show you. So he's letting them test it out in the place where the catchphrase Stockholm Syndrome was born, and the people are testing it out because that city, that country has the most people tagged in the whole world. I think it was 6,000 from my latest report, maybe a year or two ago. That country has the most people tagged. So it's by no sheer luck or no sheer coincidence that he's talking, in front of your face. But if you can't pick up on it, then it's just another story or another news story to you. So he hasn't made it mandated, or he hasn't made it to make one do something. He hasn't put a mandatory, law out that says you have to have this in order to buy and sell. So right now there's no making or no law that's put out or mandate that's going, make you have to have it in order to go into a store or sporting event or whatever to participate. So right now the chains are loose. He haven't put in the chains. He haven't came down with that draconian, law yet that everybody has to have in order to buy or sell. Because that's what it goes on to continue to say in verse 16. It says, "And he causes all to do something by what? Mandating or putting a mandatory law, a draconian law on it, that whosoever do not have it will not be able to what? We're going to get that in 17. And he calls us all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond. See, he's not discriminating. You all gonna have to get on with the program, because why? It's gonna be made mandatory. So, and he calls us all. We went into that word, paeo, to what? All, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Here it is, verse 17. And that no man might buy or sell. So he hasn't made it mandatory yet to buy or sell. So you can still get the mark, but it hasn't been made where he causes mandatory or, mandated. So it says that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. His number is 636. And when we went into that word, kasai stigma, the root word stigma is prick. And we read with that needle, they're going to prick and insert the tag inside you. Okay? So this is Proverbs 6 and 13. And it reads, he winketh with his eyes. He speaketh with his feet. He teaches with his fingers. So he does things, where if you don't know or can't pick up on it, he can put it right in front of your face and it can go over your head. He winketh with his eye. This is his way of doing what? Verse 14, frowardness. Frowardness is in his heart. He deviseth mischief continually. He soweth discord. So this is the way of them relating, and putting the things and mocking pretty much the mass right there in front of their faces, because they can't pick up on it. So they see things as what, their news dog, their watchdog, the social media or mainstream media, reports to them. They can't pick up it in a discernment to see that the relation between Stockholm syndrome and the mark is right there in front of you. People are going to relate to the mark just like those who were taken captive in Stockholm, Sweden by those robbers related to them, and was starting to show sympathy. So let's go to that, and then we're going to probably close after that. And you can see I did a little search where I said, where did the phrase Stockholm Central come from? And this is what Google came up with. It says, how did Stockholm Syndrome get its name? Stockholm Syndrome is named for a bank robbery in Stockholm, Sweden. And you think it's just ironically that's where, the tech company is, in Stockholm, Sweden? No, that's his forwardness. He's putting it right there in front of your face. He's speaking with his feet, winking with his eye. So it says Stockholm Syndrome is named for a bank robbery in Stockholm, Sweden in 1973. 4 people were held hostage by the robbers for 6 days. You see, so Esau gonna starve out a lot of people, man. They ain't gonna be able to hold off for that long, and they gonna start to sympathize and relate with the oppressors, the captors. So it says 4 people were held hostage by the robbers for 6 days. When they were rescued, the hostage attempted to protect the perpetrators, with whom they had an amicable relation. So they started to bond with these people after a period of time. They started to relate to them. They started to show sympathy. They didn't want to depart and leave. They even started to take up for these people. So you can see how Esau, Edom, this thing is going to be like a savior to those who don't have the Most High on their side. They're going to clamor for this. They're going to go in a frenzy over this, especially if they run out. So you can see just how diabolically this man is planning to come with it. He winketh with his eye. He speaketh with his feet. There's nothing upfront about this person, this man, this nation. Esau Edom, the so-called white man, self-proclaimed. Okay? So he's coming with it, make no mistake, you know? And this Stockholm syndrome is just one part of it. You know, there's many phases or stages to this Stockholm syndrome. So let's go ahead and close out in 1 Peter. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8 reads, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour." You know, and if he can get as many people as misinformed or not knowing of what time they in or what's going on, that's going to be easy for him to pick them off one by one, you know? So we see in the correlations, the, relation between the Stockholm incident that took place and the Stockholm incident that's going to take place once he rolled this thing out, man, and make it mandatory. You know, pursuing the Revelation, the 13th chapter, the 16th verse, that word calls us, paeo, people going to relate to him. After a while, they're going to start to clamor for it. You know, they're going to go down to Egypt and get it. They may start off by resisting, but those 4 hostages, did you think they were going to, clamor or show sympathy or relate to the people who held them hostage? No. They started after a period of time to just say to hell with it, man. And even fought when, the police came and tried to arrest them. They didn't want to leave. They wanted to, stay with they protagonitor, the ones that held them hostage. So you can already see how Esau gonna use this thing, man. He gonna make it to where people gonna come down to him freely and willingly and take this. He's not gonna have to beg you to come. You gonna come and look for him. Because you didn't look for Yahweh when you had the opportunity. So he gonna let you be taken by your own imagination. And this man Esau Edom is not gonna play by the same rules, man. You take his device, it's gonna come with a price. Revelation 14, verse 9. So hopefully someone was able to take something away from that. If it be the Lord's will, until the next time, stay strong, stay in the faith. We almost home. Shalom.